How important are meaningful and trusted relationships in your life? Please.
There's nothing more important.
There is nothing more important. Very good. Thank you. Good afternoon. I want to start off and say, in this new digital revolution that we're living in, cybersecurity and cyber terrorism has understandably become what? The most complex, comprehensive, and serious challenge and threat that we're facing here at home and around the world. Is that a fair statement to say? Yes. Anybody disagree with that? Never before has there ever been a greater sense of urgency on one particular topic that has affected our national security, our intelligence communities at the highest level in government, U.S. commerce, public utility servicing companies all around the United States, and as well as researchers and professors that are studying this most critical topic that goes to the core of what? Goes to the core of our security and stability at home. And I want to congratulate and commend you. I understand that the students that were selected here today, and including the instructors, represents the top 10% that were in the application pool. Give yourself a hand for that. That's outstanding, you guys. That's a big honor. I had the opportunity to speak with many of you over lunch and a little later, and I can see your desire and your passion, obviously, for cybersecurity. And I'm excited to hear where you want to go with college, the various opportunities and the various universities that you're considering to further develop your skill set in this particular very, very specialized field. And then later, given that opportunity, when you begin your career path, where is it going to be? Is it going to be in our intelligence community at the highest levels of government? Is it going to be in the private sector with various corporations? Might you be working with people that are going to be working with other areas in our public utilities? Very, very critical area with our infrastructure in the United States. Or it may be in academia, maybe in the areas of research. All of those opportunities can be exciting for you. I want to ask you a very loaded question before I get into the big question. You all have the IQ, or you wouldn't be here, you wouldn't be selected. You all have the aptitude. You have the desire for the area of cybersecurity. You have the technical core skill set. Now I want to ask you this loaded question. Do you feel that there's any barriers or any limitations that will keep you from reaching your highest human potential, your highest level of individual performance going forward? Is there anything that comes to mind or that you can think of? I know the wheels are turning. I think there's one, if I may. I think there's one. I believe there's one critical ingredient necessary for you to adopt and embrace to take you to that highest level, to tap your highest level of human performance. And I'm going to share that with you today. And I'd like to ask you this question. If I was to share this particular formula with you, this mindset and this lifestyle, and there's no upfront fees, there's no annual or monthly subscription, but if I can give you an easy formula that you can adopt and you can implement on a daily discipline basis within your mindset and within your lifestyle, would you be all in? Let me see by a show of hands. Everybody in for that? Good. Give me high. I want to see them really high. Good. Is there anybody for any reason who wouldn't take that on? Thank you. We like those type of unanimous votes and support. And I think it's going to be worthwhile for you, so stay with me, okay? Stay with me. Now I'm going to ask you the most critical question, not of the day, not of the decade. I'm going to ask you what I believe is the most critical question of your lifetime. Mark your calendars. It was today. You ready? And I'd love to get your feedback. How important are meaningful and trusted relationships in your life? Please.
There's nothing more important.
There is nothing more important. Very good. Thank you. Please speak up. Let me have your input. How important are meaningful and trusted relationships in your life? Anybody else would like to contribute to that? That's a tough one to follow. I agree. Yes.
Relationships can take you places where you can't normally go by even hard work.
I love that. Relationships can take you to places that you can't go even by hard work. Did you have one there, sir? Was that your hand up back there? Yes. Putting you on the spot. Go ahead, please. What do those relationships mean to you, a trusted relationship?
Well, without trust, you can't really succeed. Without trusting anyone, you can't succeed in life. So that's why relationships are important, because they develop trust
To succeed, right? Beautiful. Beautiful. Anybody else like to comment on that? Here's what we did over the last year. We interviewed over 3,500 people. Students, high school students, college students, professors, CPAs, flight attendants, engineers. Very, very diversified group. Homemakers, principals at high schools. We asked them that very, very same question. And then 94% of the people answered with one of three responses. Three categories that we put them in. One was 100%, one was extremely critical, and the last group said nothing else matters. Does that crystallize how important that is? We don't realize how important trust is until when? Excellent, outstanding, perfect response. I've heard a couple of them. Until we don't have it or until it's broken. We all have had that pit in our stomach when it is, right? It's a terrible feeling. It's a really tough feeling. Before I introduce you to this mindset and this lifestyle, this secret that I told you, to how we're going to build and grow and sustain meaningful and trusted relationships, there's one thing that I have to introduce first. How about trust? Isn't it fair that we need to have a basic understanding of what trust is before we can learn to build meaningful and trusted relationships? Fair enough? Let's start with that. Trust starts with likability. So I want you to imagine this ladder. It starts with likability. People like working with people they like, right? We like hanging with people we like. Here's the challenge. We all have prejudices. We all have misunderstandings, right? We all have biases. How many times have you met someone for the first time and you said, oh, I can't even stand that person, right? 6 months later, they're your best friend. Has that happened? Is that fair to say? Let me see. Show me the hands. Does that happen? And why is that? Because we live in this new digital revolution too. Everything's instant. Everything's immediate, right? And what do we do immediately? We judge that person. And either it's good or it's bad. Seldom is it ever in between. But what happens is we don't really know that person until we what? Until we begin to understand this person. That's ladder rung number 2. You start off with likability. And once you have the basic formula of likability, you move up. I need to understand this person. Tell me about their background. Tell me their upbringing. Tell me their schooling. Did they grow up the son of a pig farmer in Lee Summit, Missouri? Or did this person grow up in an orphanage in New York City? Did they grow up with a single mom that took care of them? Was there a tragic accident that happened in this person's family that impacted them and who they are today? Each and every one of us, just like our own DNA, we all have a story. We've all been impacted, right? One way or another. And we hear these stories through our parents or through our grandparents or through our loved ones. But we need to understand people. We're a very prejudicial group and we're very judgmental. We've got to be open-minded. We've got to listen more. 95% of the people in the world communicate. 5% of the people communicate effectively. And you know what they do well? They're great listeners. They listen well. We've got to take the time to listen to people in that particular area. We start off with likability. We go to understanding. What's the third level on the rung? How about core competency? If you're going to build trust, people need to know that you have what? That you've got the demonstrated skill set, right? If you're going to be working with somebody in a work environment, you want to know that they have that technical skill. They have that core competency, skill set, and experience to exceed and to do well. And I tell people, you can be an Einstein in this world. You can be absolutely brilliant. But if you do not have the ability to demonstrate it and articulate that to people, what happens? It's a glass half empty, right? It's half empty. You've got to be able to connect with people. We've got to be able to communicate that to people. Number 3, as we move up the rung. We've demonstrated likability. We have an understanding of who that person is and their background and their makeup. We've had an opportunity to demonstrate core competency. The next rung is opportunity. Have you ever heard it's what you do with that opportunity that counts, right? Once that door is open, somebody's going to give you an opportunity. 4 things are going to happen. One of 4 things. When you're given that opportunity, you're going to knock it out of the park, like many of you have done throughout this program. You're going to knock it out of the park and exceed expectations. And what is that going to do on the trust level? It's going to rise. You're going to move up. Number 2, you may trip and stumble. It happens to us throughout life. There may be some circumstances beyond your control, whether it's a computer meltdown, whether it's a traffic condition, stuck on the freeway, you missed a flight to the airport. There will be circumstances beyond your control that you cannot control that could happen that somebody can question your judgment. And when that happens, and you slip and fall and you stumble, do you think people are forgiving? What would you say? Some are, some are not, right? You're both right. You're both right. Some people are forgiving. Other people aren't. It's over with. You failed with that opportunity. The next thing that could happen could be outright failure. Somebody has violated that relationship so serious, the relationship is over. The trust relationship is done. You're out of the phone, you're out of the Rolodex, you're out of the computer. You'll never hear from that person again. And there are extreme situations where that's happened. The last one is second chance opportunity. Where would any one of us be today had we not been given a second chance opportunity? Have any of you had a second chance opportunity? I see every hand go up in the room. I've had 4, 5, 6, or 7 of them. And I'm thankful every time I had that second or third chance opportunity. And I'm thankful that somebody gave me that opportunity. They knew me, they understood me, they knew I had the core competency skill set, they gave me an opportunity, and things just did not go right for a multitude of reasons. But they gave me that second chance. And it was that second chance that allowed me to excel or succeed and prove them that this relationship and trusted relationship was worthy of growing and continuing to grow. Are you with me? The next rung that we come to. So on that opportunity, it's not what happens to us, it's how we deal with that, to foster that trusted relationship and take it to the next level. The next rung is respect. What I want to share with you here, respect is not a birthright. You're not born into it. Some people think they are. They're working for a company maybe where mom or dad's running the operation. It's not a birthright, and it's not an entitlement. It must be earned. Is everybody on board with that? It must be earned. If it's going to be genuine and authentic, it must be earned. Very, very important. Let's jump up to the next level. So you have the likability, you have the understanding, you have the core competency. You've capitalized on that opportunity and made the best of it. You've earned respect. The next rung is trust. Trust is the pinnacle. Total commitment, loyalty, confidentiality. How important is that when we're dealing with trust? Confidentiality, total commitment. All builds up to trust. And the last one is the pinnacle that maybe only 5% of us will reach in our lifetime. Unconditional trust. No strings attached. Unconditional. It's the highest level. The example that I use is many times is our United States Special Forces or United States Navy SEALs or Delta Force in the United States Army. And I've had the experience to work with these folks and to see their makeup and the trust level that they have. It's life and death. If trust is broken within their mission and their operation, what happens? They not only fail in the mission, they lose lives. People die. People die. So when you have unconditional trust at that level, there is absolutely nothing more important. How does that resonate with your trust? Does that sit well with you? Now for the secret. Here's the formula. We need H2O to what? To live, to survive. Very good, exactly. Without it, 3 or 4 days, we're gone, right? I want to introduce a new ingredient that I tell people it's on the periodic table. H2G. Has anybody seen that on the periodic table? Chemistry majors? I just added it on there. So in your book, put it in pencil when you go home. Put it in there. H2G. Head, heart, and gut. H2G. Head, heart, and gut. I'd like to introduce that to you right now. Can everybody see that? And what's the operational definition of H2G? For those in the back of the room, I'm going to read this out loud. Unless you got your binoculars out back there and you can see this. There you go. I think someone's bringing out a pair. To inspire humanity, one person, one relationship, and one team at a time by adopting and living is capitalized as you can see, a passionate and positive H2G, head, heart, and gut. Emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual what? Mindset. With a daily discipline plan to do what? To do the most important thing in your life, and everybody bought into it about 10 minutes ago. Build trusted relationships. And what is the big why? Why is it so important? You got to have a why in your life. To realize and achieve individual and team growth, fulfillment, happiness, and success. How does that resonate with you? Let's start off with H2G. We've just described it. H2O to do what? To survive. And H2G to, you got it, to thrive. Very good, to thrive. So it starts with the head. Let's break down these three vessels. The head. When you think of the human head, the average brain is a 3-pound miracle worker. 3 pounds. And if you look at the brain, it's 78% water. Isn't that amazing? 3 pounds, 78% water. You have 80 to 100 billion neurons going through that brain. The most complex, sophisticated organ and machine in the world. We think of cybersecurity, right? And how technical and how advanced that is and everything. There is nothing more advanced, and there never will be, than the brain, than the human brain. You have 50 to 70,000 thoughts a day that go through our brain. Can you imagine that? 50 to 70,000 thoughts. I'm not coming up with this. These are the top neuroscientists in the world telling us that. Now here's a very, very important fact and point. 2/3 of every thought that goes through your brain, my brain, your neighbor's brain, your parent's brain, 2/3 of every thought that goes through your brain is somehow related or connected to what? One word. Fear. Did you hear me? Fear. Fear. Think about that. Now, maybe fear, I'm going to be late to class today, or I put on 2 pounds over the weekend, I've got to work on that diet, right? I'm late with that homework assignment, I didn't get my workout in. Or it may be something more serious, debilitating fears that get us caged in our own life. And we've heard of these serious cases where people turn to drugs, alcohol, and then the ultimate and the extreme, even suicide. How well are we at dealing with fear? Most of us individually, by ourselves. You think we're good at that? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And we're not supposed to deal with fear alone. And we shouldn't deal with fear alone. When you're dealing with fear, in the title of the book, From Fears to Freedom, there's a reason it's From Fears to Freedom. We have to identify the fear. We have to understand the fear, then manage the fear, and then finally do what? Then finally overcome the fear. And what I want to share with you today, whatever that fear is that you're going through, particularly if it's at an elevated level, you are to never do it alone. You are to never be alone. Connect with those best friends. Connect with those meaningful and trusted relationships in your life. Be open, be transparent, be real. And if you've got to make that call at midnight or 2 in the morning when it counts, what do? You make that call. That's when you need to make a difference. I want to talk about the ingredients that make up the head. And we're not going to spend a lot of time, but I'm going to rattle them off pretty quickly. And I've got them in the book. But when I talk about the head, it begins with self. It begins with self-awareness. We've got to know our strengths and weaknesses, right? We've got to be within ourselves to know who we are. Many people say purpose is the most important thing within the head. I say take 2 steps back. Purpose is critical. You've got to know your why. But it starts with self. Self-awareness is critical to know who we really are and our own self-examination of that. Then we go to purpose. What is that burning desire? What is that burning passion? What is our why? What is our purpose? What are we here for? What do we want to do? That's opened up today. And over the past week, just with the opportunity, with the vision that you've had, the opportunity to look at this program. Then there's focus. We can have all the burning passion in the world. What happens if we don't have the determined focus, right? We've got to stay focused. We've got to stay on mission. We've got to stay on point. Positive mental attitude. How critical is positive mental attitude? You've heard that 95-5 or 90-10. We can trick the brain chemically. We can trick the brain when we're going through the most chaotic and stressful times to say, look, I've got to be positive right now. We've seen people in the most extreme situations throughout the country. When they've been put in a life and death situation, they say, I've got to get on my game face. I've got to be positive. I've got to serve this mission in this situation. Not only do they survive it, but they excel and they thrive at it with that mindset. Does that make sense? Next one I have is core competency. We talked about that. Within that head, that technical skill set or that core skill set, you've got to have core competency. It's critical. We've got to work on that continually. The next one is critical and strategic thinker. This group, I'm not worried about that. I just saw a demonstration here of very, very strategic and critical thinkers just on the projects that you are working on, the team projects. What we're telling people as a team, you can't sit in the back seat anymore. You can't just go along for the ride. You've got to take a leadership, proactive role up front, right? You've got to take charge. You've got to be a critical and strategic thinker, and you have to ask the questions. Why are we doing this? What's our end goal? What's our outcome? We don't want to be shy. There's nothing wrong with respectfully asking the questions in whatever we're doing in life, and we need to do more of that. Fair enough? Does that resonate with you? Thank you. The next one that I have is called the team player. if we're building trusted relationships, and part of the secret formula is be a team player. Does that mean you can't critique the team? No. There's a time and a place to critique the team, but you need to be a team player. If you're not, get off the bus. It's time to go. There's rules, there's regulations, there's guidelines, there's parameters that we've set up. Be a team player. And if it's not the right fit, that's okay. You've got to find the right fit where the right fit is for you. And if not, it's time to move. Next one I have down here is the relationship builder. What value add are you going to bring to your team? What value add are you going to bring to your relationship? Every day, I want you to be obsessed with that. What can I do to serve? What can I do to bring value to my family, to my volunteer group, to my classmates, to my best friend, to my teacher, to my educator? What value am I going to bring today? And the last one that's appropriate with this group is what I call the full-time student. What is the full-time student? That means we're constantly learning, relearning, and unlearning. Let me repeat that. We're constantly needing to learn, improve and push the bar, relearn and unlearn. There's some things that we thought we learned that were incorrect. There's some things that we need to relearn in a different way, or maybe with new technology, so that we have a clearer or better understanding and more knowledge. Does that make sense? Constantly learning. I call that the full-time student all the time. And I love it with educators that are here because they're obsessed and passionate about stretching that brain and that heart every time, learning, taking it to the next level all the time. So that's the head. That's the first component. How does that sit with you? Does that make sense? Now let's jump into the second vessel, what I call the heart. H2G, head, heart, and gut. Physiologically, we all have 4 chambers in our heart, right? We all know that. For those biology majors, we got 4 chambers in the heart. I want to share with you the 4 chambers that we have that are tied to this model, the secret to building meaningful and trusted relationships. The first one is the passionate warrior. What do I mean by that? I have passionate cyber warriors here today. You're on fire. You have a desire, you have a passion to be what? To be the best of the best that you can be in your field, right? That drives you, that motivates you. Does it not? Who are other passionate warriors that have impacted our life? Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, President Ronald Reagan. I can rattle off 1 through 6, my 1st through 6th grade teachers. Think of those people in your life that make an impact. These are passionate warriors. These are people that are committed, that are fired up and passionate about what they do and what they deliver. The second chamber is the chamber of empathy and faith. In this model, our world is starving for compassion and empathy right now, and fairness, right? Is that fair to say? We're starving for that. That's a critical ingredient that we need to have, that we need to understand. And the second part of that chamber is faith. And when I talk about faith, I'm talking about faith in a higher spiritual power. Not for me to decide what that is. It could be Christian, it could be Hindu, it could be Buddhist, Judaism. It could be a higher spiritual power, whatever it be. 98% of the people in the world have a belief in some type of higher spiritual power. That's a fact. And in my model, I think it's a very critical and important ingredient. Number 3, gratitude, generosity. How important are those virtues, those values when you think about that? When people think of generosity, what comes to mind? I asked somebody the other day and they said, when we have an emergency around the world and the Red Cross comes in, and we're the largest humanitarian in the world, and we bring in food and resources, that's critical, and that's very, very important. Or many times when someone's written a multi-million-dollar check to help out people in need because we've had a serious disaster or a flood or an earthquake or a natural disaster. But generosity can also be just caring for your friend, giving somebody the quality time. I'm sorry?
Forgiveness.
That's another one. You're right ahead of me. We're going to come to forgiveness. Forgiveness is another one. But when we're talking about generosity, there's many ways that you can be generous. You can help a 90-year-old out in the middle of the supermarket who's negotiating 5 bags of groceries. It would take you 30 seconds to put them in the car. It may take that individual, due to some challenged disabilities, 15 or 20 minutes. What would it take you to take the time just to help that person? What do you think the impact that it would have? That's somebody else's mother or grandmother, right? And by helping them and giving that act of kindness and generosity, do you think that would make a big difference in their life? It's special. It's impactful. Gratitude. How important is gratitude? I'm grateful for this opportunity to be here with you today. I'm grateful that NSA, the National Science Foundation, has shown their leadership in demonstrating a critical program like this and what I believe is the single most important issue facing our country right now. And you heard a speaker the other day that said the next war probably will be cyber, and I would agree with that. But gratitude is so powerful. We could probably sit down in this room and we can all write down literally 1,000 things that we're grateful for. The parents, the health, the schooling. The list can just be forever, right? The opportunities for schooling and to go on. We've got to have a full heart all the time and be obsessed and preoccupied with generosity and gratitude. The last chamber, there's 2 components. The first one is reflection. Reflection is your quiet time, your unplugged time. Not on the life cycle with the headphones on or we're out running. It's totally unplugged. I do it typically about 5:30 in the morning or about 12:30 in the morning, late at night or early in the morning. That's my time to unplug. It's my time to recharge. It could be prayer time, meditation time, introspective thinking. That's our time to recharge, turn out the whole outside world, and just come within. Does that make sense? Do any of you take time to do that? You do? Excellent. And how is that? Is that fulfilling for you? Does that recharge you? That's excellent. I'm glad to hear that. Any others have that opportunity? Will you just get your quiet space? Excellent. And the one that you said here, Melissa, forgiveness. Forgiveness is huge. And the most important thing that I want to share about forgiveness, if you can't forgive yourself and you can't forgive others, you can't grow. You can't grow. This is the hardest thing to do in the world, forgiveness. Very difficult, and it's not easy. But we must learn to forgive. And as a leadership strategist, I've consulted with many leaders and many CEOs and many corporations. Forgiveness is a tough one. Ego and forgiveness are the 2 biggest challenges that they have to deal with. And I say don't wait next week or next month or 10 years. Put that on your calendar right now and make a date with dealing with forgiveness. Don't wait until you get that telephone call when your father is in the hospital and you get the call that you need to be here within 24 hours to reconcile and deal with that issue. Don't wait until it's too late. Deal with that issue now. And who is forgiveness for? It's for us. It's a relief. It is for us. You have to realize just how powerful forgiveness is. So I've just shared head and heart with you. The last one is the gut. The gut. When you think of the gut, I want you to think of this. Have you ever had that pit in your stomach? When things aren't going right? You're nodding the head and you have that fear. Have we had that pit in our stomach? Physiologically, that's what happens when we're faced with that. All of our stress, all of our uncertainty, all of our anxiety, all of our chaos, all of our doubts, all of our worries, all of our fears goes right here. But your gut's also your protective shield. And what I want to share with you, we're all going to have a wake-up call in our life. Mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, spiritually. If your world has not been rocked somehow, some way to this date, death of a family member, somebody being diagnosed with a terminal disease, it's coming. It will happen. The question is, are you prepared for that? Are you prepared? And if you look at this whole formula, if you practice and understand and appreciate all those ingredients that we talked about within the head, and you've got all 4 chambers of the heart firing, right? All cylinders are firing there. And you understand what the gut is, when you have that wake-up call and you have those meaningful and trusted relationships in your life, not only will you survive and get through it, you'll be stronger. You'll thrive. Does that make sense? Does that resonate with you? Thank you. Thank you. That's why I think a model like this, it's a very simple concept. It's a very simple mindset and a lifestyle. And you're saying, well, what is the connection of the head, heart, and gut to my particular field? Why is that important? As I started off with this, you all have the IQ. We all have the IQ and the aptitude at a very high level. If you talk to the top psychiatrists and behavioral scientists in the world, and they've all been asked, what is the top ingredient to ensure success? Success ingredients. Is it IQ or is it emotional intelligence? That's what we've been talking about for the last 15 minutes. At one time it was thought if you had the IQ, that's all you needed, right? We've got the brains, we have the IQ. Now they're telling us that your success is determined by 10 to 25% maximum of your IQ. And 75 to 90% is what we get into your human emotional intelligence. So when you're dealing with the human intelligence that makes up IQ and EQ, the emotional intelligence, 75 to 95% falls into this category. Isn't that amazing when you think about that? And what is this dealing with? It's dealing with knowing ourselves. It's our social awareness, our situational awareness, and our self-awareness. It's dealing with human emotions, with people that we have to interface with every day. And that's a big challenge and struggle from all of us as human beings. We've got to spend more time doing that. And if we're going to be in a particular field where we're dealing with highly technical skill sets, it's very easy to get very myopic, right? And very focused on this particular mission or project that we have to do in the area of cybersecurity. But how important is it if I'm working with a team, how important is it that I have meaningful and trusted relationships with my team members that I'm working with? Do you think that's important? It's paramount. It's extremely, extremely important. They've got to know you. They've got to trust you. And that's going to allow that innovation and that creativity, that inclusiveness, and that collaboration that you guys need to do to push yourself and maximize your human potential. That's why we're talking about it. Everybody clear with H2G? How does it sit with you? Do you like it? Is it good? I see the heads nodding yes. I want to introduce one other piece now, which we've done with H2G. It's called H2G leadership. And I have the operational definition here. And for those in the back of the room, we'll speak up so you can see it. You can't read it. So the foundation is H2G. It's a passionate and disciplined H2G. Head, heart, and gut mindset, and here's the key word, in action. It's behaviors in action. It's a trusted influence, which does what? Which inspires and maximizes the efforts of you? No. Inspires and maximizes the efforts of others to commit forward and achieve a greater good, i.e. cybersecurity, through the power of engaged and trusted teams. Does that make sense? It's all about the team. It's all about engaging the team. It's all about building trusted influence so that we can do what? So that we can inspire others, motivate others for a mission, for a common good, for a greater good. H2G leadership. The power of engaged and trusted teams. Here's something that's very interesting that I want to share with you. Gallup polls, we've all heard of them, right? The latest Gallup polls tell us that in our workforce throughout the United States, only 3 out of 10 people are engaged in their work environment. They're excited about it, they're passionate about it, they look forward to coming to work and making a contribution. Only 3 out of 10. 50% of the people that are in the workforce say they don't trust their boss. They don't trust the manager. They don't trust their supervisor. How can companies operate at the highest level and perform if they don't have trust? It's amazing. So 70% that tells us. We said 3 out of 10 are engaged. 70% are either disengaged or unengaged. 55% of the workforce is unengaged. What does that mean? They show up to work, they punch a time clock, or they show up from 8 to 5. They take a check, they put in their time, they take care of the basic responsibilities that are put before them for the day, and they go home. How'd you like to work in that work environment? No, thank you. I'm sorry. What was the other one? I'd hate it. I would too. We only have 86,400 seconds in a given day. And if we're going to put quality time into a job, we want to be passionate about it. We want to make a difference. We want to be excited, right? And then we have another 15% of the people that are disengaged. Who are the disengaged people? We all know of a few of those, or we've heard about them. They're sitting around the water cooler. They're bad-mouthing the company. They're bad-mouthing the mission. One word. Toxic. They're toxic. They got to go. They got to go. If they want to sit down with a constructive idea of change that we need in this company, any good leader will be open. But when you have toxic people, and there's a certain percentage in our world, and that's their makeup, and that's what they do, it's time to go. They're not in the right culture. We want to concentrate on elevating that level of engagement. And we can do that through building trusted teams and building trusted relationships. The H2G mindset is all about an action. I talk about a trusted influence. A trusted influence which inspires and maximizes the efforts, but it's a mindset in action. When you think of beliefs and attitudes, a belief is an attitude. When you think of an action, you think of what? It's a behavior, right? It's a behavior, how we act and what we do. I started off saying, if I was to give you a secret formula where you can maximize your human potential, maximize your human performance, right? If I could give that to you at no cost, no monthly fees, but you can use that mindset and live that lifestyle to make a difference, would you be interested? What everybody say? Everybody was on board, right? Are you still on board? Are you still with me? That's what we're talking about here. That's exactly what we're talking about. I've created a program back at my Leadership and Freedom Center called Building Trusted Leaders, Building Trusted Teams. And the very core of it goes to H2G and then H2G leadership. I'm going to leave some core principles with you. They're leadership behavior principles. What is a behavior? It's an action, right? Behaviors. I want to share those behaviors with you. I'm going to just kind of move this over here towards the center. When you leave here today, I have this in paper format, so we don't have to worry about it being hacked, okay? So it's all going to be in paper format. So they probably already hacked this already, and I hope they all do, and I hope it's beneficial. Building trusted leaders, building team behaviors. But we came together as a team, as a group, and I said, I want to take all of these particular leadership behaviors. And I was talking with Adam earlier over at Lincoln, and he came up to me and said, Shawn, well, what is that leadership? What makes up leadership? And what I'd like to share with you, and you take these home, and you can incorporate this into your mindset, and into that lifestyle that we talked about. Here they are. It starts with character. How important is ethics and character in cybersecurity? Is ethics important? Absolutely. In every facet of our life. And one could even make the argument even more so in an area where somebody is entrusting you to safeguard the operation of our whole country, right? Or of a company, or of an institution. Character, do what is right every time. How simple is that? But how many people do that on a regular basis? How many people do what is right every time? Take responsibility for your actions. Be accountable. Lead by example. Speak up and stand up for your teammates. We got to be courageous. We're all fallible as human beings. As we say up here too, when you make a mistake, accept responsibility for it. I screwed up. I made a mistake. I'm fallible. Don't crucify me for it. Look for that second chance opportunity. But you've got to be what? You've got to be authentic. You've got to be genuine. You've got to be real. Be selfless. Share credit amongst your team members, whatever team that may be, your family team, your spousal team, your workplace team, your volunteer team. Those are all teams that I talk about. And the last one is live humility. It's very fulfilling to be around people that are humble. Let's talk about the second one, concern. What is concern? Concern is dealing with empathy. We talked about that earlier. Empathy, fairness, and compassion. And again, something we're starving for in this world. We need to be able to take action and demonstrate more empathy. Be self-aware. Be sensitive to others' needs and their desires and their interest. Show interest of what these other people want to do that are around you. We've got to show people that we're caring. Have genuine empathy. Have team members' best interest at heart. Be willing to share team members' burdens. If somebody needs your time, if somebody is hurting, and you're too busy for them, take that time. That time may be critical. That time may make a difference in their life and the outcome. Communication. Very overused word. But when we talk about communication, it says support open, honest, transparent communication. Be real. Be real with that. And the best communicators do what? You betcha. They got elephant ears. That's a big takeaway. I want you to think when you go away from here, I'm going to have elephant ears for the rest of my life. I'm going to be a great listener. The best communicators are. They listen all the time. Be a better listener. Build rapport and camaraderie. You've got to have rapport. Remember starting with that likability? We must connect with people before we can what? Before we can communicate. Adam shared with me in school as a teacher at Lincoln High School. He said we have to connect before we what? Anybody want to guess? Correct. Is that right, Adam?
Yes, sir.
That hit me. It was very profound. So if somebody's stepping out of line at school and somebody wants to come up and just lecture them and give them a hard time, is that person going to be open ears and receptive to the educator, to the instructor? Absolutely not. It's, yeah, whatever. Get out of my face. As opposed to, hey, what's going on, guys? I'm sorry, what class are you missing a class? Yeah, I'm supposed to be in Mr. Thompson's class, and I'm missing Mrs. Gale's class. Anything going on? Not really. They hightail it to class. What has Adam done in that particular situation? It's mastering emotional intelligence, building the rapport, building the connection, building the communication. He cares about those students. And I'll tell you, the teachers and instructors from kindergarten all the way up through college are my absolute favorite. And I'll tell you why. Because they are absolute passionate warriors. They love what they do. They love students. They love the learning environment. But they've got hearts bigger than lions because they care. Commitment. Do what you say you will do. How many people do what they say they're going to do? How many people deliver on their promises and keep their promises? How important is that? Is that huge? Absolutely. Let's talk about unselfishly serve and respect your teammates. Is that important? All of these I just want to leave with you. Commit to grow others and other leaders. You're there to serve your other teammates. And they in turn will do what? They're there to serve you. Right? Isn't that synergy great and that energy? When we're there supporting each other, we've all been there, right? How about people in sports? Anybody do sports in here? How cool is that environment when that team is about 4 inches off the ground competing? The chemistry's there, the energy's there. You guys are operating at a level that you thought you never could be. Have you been there? That's a great feeling, isn't it? We need to take that and transform that into all areas of our life. Capture that moment and that mindset and that energy and that chemistry and apply that in your life. Would that make a difference? That's what we have to show from a commitment level. Just not on the pitch or on the playing field, on the basketball court. Take that same mindset and apply that everywhere. And you watch the dividends that it will personally come back to you and also to the performance, not only of you, but your whole team. Competency. We won't spend time on that. We've covered that a couple times already. Core competency. Develop and utilize the skill set. But when I'm talking about competency now, I'm just not talking about myopic technical skills. I'm talking about what? I broaden that human intelligence to be human intelligence. We've got to tap the human intelligence, the emotional intelligence. We've learned that's a big part of our ultimate happiness, right? And success and fulfillment in life is mastering that emotional intelligence. So that's a big part of our competency. And constantly be a consummate learner, that full-time student that we talked about here in the area of your core competency. How about charisma? What's the first thing when you think about charisma? People say it's a world leader. Charisma doesn't have to be a world leader. It's your teammate sitting right next to you. That person is a magnet. That person is a light. That person lights me up. Each one of us has that within us. Each one of us is that passionate warrior. It might be dormant, but you have that charismatic ability. Bring it out. It doesn't mean you're jumping up and down doing jumping jacks, right, or going nuts or crazy. You can do it in a very subtle way. But you've got that charisma within you. Now what you want to do is to inspire, to motivate, and empower your team and the mission that you're working on. To do what? To maximize your human potential and to maximize the human performance. Does that resonate with you? Thank you. Thank you. The last one is culture. Have you heard of that concept, culture? Big buzzword that we talk about. We need to create and promote a core values-driven environment based on what? It's got to be based and committed on collaboration, innovation, creativity, cooperation, inclusiveness. And how do we do that? We do that by mastery of emotional intelligence. And they had a questionnaire with 48 questions on it that they sent to 5 different people for references. And you're probably going to find the same when you go into the employment world now with these companies. They asked every single question you can think about. And what were they focused on? Emotional intelligence. They saw her resume. They saw her skill set. They saw her college degree. They saw her grades. They knew she excelled in all those areas. They wanted to know what? How well does she deal with her own emotions? How well does she cooperate and deal with other team players? How well does she deal with a stressful situation? How is she going to be able to handle that? Is that important? Employers are looking for that, I guarantee you. They're looking for that stability, and they're looking for that understanding. They're looking for that connection. I want you, when you think of H2O, what's the second thing I want you to think of? H2G. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. H2G. One more time. H2G. Yeah. Head, heart, and gut. I want you to adopt and embrace this lifestyle. Share it with your friends. I want it to become a revolution. I really do. Because if we can make humanity better, by increasing and elevating our emotional intelligence and pushing our own human potential, maximizing our full measure and our full human potential by doing this, we can help out a lot of other people, right? When you leave here today, I want you to say, how can I be a difference maker in this world? How can I make a difference in every facet, in every area of my life? Who has a cell phone I can borrow? I'm not going to make a call, don't worry. I'm not calling mom, I'm calling home. Let me ask you this question. We have 7 billion people living in the world right now. 7 billion people. And many of my concerns and concerns of my friends at my generation say, Shawn, here's what I'm concerned about. And you tell me if this is a fair assessment with your generation and the millennials. They've said that we become so obsessed and so addicted with this tool that we become desensitized as human beings. Is that a fair statement? I'm talking to a cyber group. So I want you to be transparent. I want you to be real with me. Be real. How many people think we become so obsessed and so addicted on this with just the textings and the emails and not that personal face-to-face one-on-one communication that to some degree, I'm not saying 100%, I'm not going to throw everybody over the cliff, that you become desensitized. Do you believe that? Let me see a show of hands, please. Be honest with yourself. So this is part of the H2G revolution. Don't get me wrong. What we've done with the advancement of technology in all areas of our life is incredible, right? In modern medicine, what it's done, agriculture, in the cyber world, for our United States military, for our intelligence community, what we've done with technology, we've made things quicker, faster, more efficient in every aspect of our life and more effective. But there's one area here where this thing's got out of kilter. Too many times people think they can take this cell phone, which is nothing more than a tool, and they can substitute this for what? Thank you. Human contact or real, meaningful, and trusted relationships. It will never, never do that. It's a tool. It needs to be used as a tool and recognize that's what it is. Gallup poll says we spend the average American 5.5 hours a day. Cyber world's probably 15, but 5.5 hours a day in front of a screen, a tablet, right? Facebook, or here. And we become obsessed and desensitized. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I just want you to be cognizant of that. I want you to be sensitive of that. So when you're out with somebody and you're at the dinner table, and we've seen that. I've gone out and 10 people surround the table, the whole family. You know how they're communicating? They're communicating, but how are they communicating? That's right. They're all on their phone. Their heads are all down. Are they face-to-face communicating? Are they building a relationship? Joey's right next to Mary. Yes, no, okay, what time? And it is hilarious and it's funny, but I want you to leave here today and I want you to spend that quality time. Know when you need to have that face-to-face. Know when that friend needs you. Work on focusing on building those relationships and really doing what? Being a difference maker and help supporting me and you and 2 degrees of separation, everybody to help us build this H2G revolution. How does that sit with you? Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. What's that? Yes, thank you.
This is a Gen Cyber poster customized for this program and signed by everybody for you to have.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you.
When 1 or 2 or 10 of these strike it big,
Right.
Do they want you on a board or they cut you in for a piece of the action?
Is that a deal, right? Wow,
Shawn,
thank you so
thank you.
much. Thank you all very
Thank
much.
you. Thank
I'm
you.
honored. Thank you very much.
Okay.
That's to you guys. Thank you very much.